Hi everyone, I'm Krika and this is Art Rendezvous. Welcome to episode 6. In last 5 episodes, we have introduced you to 10 incredibly talented Austin-based artists. And we are just getting started. I'm very excited to introduce you to our first guest tonight. Her name is Marcian Villafena. And Marcy just lives and breathes art. So let's welcome her on the show.
First business at the age of 18, doing more graphic design work as a professional. And then somewhere around 1996, um, I started marketing my stuff here in Austin. But I've been fluently marketing my artwork for at least 20, 34 years.
So you started at 18. Uh,
Yes, yeah.
I I imagine. I can remember when I was 18 and I was like, I didn't had any clarity, what I wanted to do, and there you are starting a business at 18. How did you get? What inspired you to be an artist at that early age?
Well, I was already competing and selling my artwork, being hired getting contract work. And for tax purposes, I had to open a business. I wanted to make sure that I did everything on the up and up. I wasn't doing art under the table. So um, it just started that way. I helped put myself and my ex-husband through college that way.
So did you take professional classes or went to school, or did you what are you self-taught?
I would say in general, I'm self-taught. I didn't take my first art class until 2012. And that was just because I needed some refresher skills with anatomy. And yeah, I've never taken a class before that. And I've taken about 5 classes, 4 of them with Melanie Hickerson at ACC, and one with Gary Webernick. And, that's kind of been my small education in art.
So I'm just curious, like you started as a kid, you started your business, but before that, like what led you to have that idea that you can make a living out of this?
Oh, I never thought I could make a living out of it. My folks, I shouldn't say that. My mother always told me that I could never make a money as an artist. But I have a lot of artist family members that do make money, and they're more painting type of people. I went into graphic design. That was where I saw that there was a future. Um, so I started very small with logo design, graphic design, brochures, templates, signs, catalogs.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I started. And then I would pick up any kind of job. I I'm sorry, I did take a class in college uh, for photography, so I could learn some photography skills
Mm-hmm.
because I was already pretty good at photography anyway. But I needed some background and more understanding of how everything worked. And learning is great. So I started doing that. I got some small jobs working. When I was 19 years old, I moved to Iowa, and I got associated with the Chamber of Commerce. And immediately, that's how I started getting small jobs, was through the Chamber of Commerce.
And you do work with a lot of different mediums, and you have different lines of art. You have so many different series and different styles that you create. Would you talk about all the different mediums that you work with?
Okay. Well, let me tell you, I started um, with my cutout artwork in 1984. And when I was doing my cutout artwork, um, I did it because I was having issues with painting. I thought painting was too messy. Then I went into charcoals. I paint mandalas with acrylic on concrete. I do henna art, uh, which is like a temporary body art. Um, I do a little bit of cartoon work, photography. I've been doing graphic design since um, 85. I started that business here in Austin in 96, though.
Um, so you said you worked on mandalas too and henna. That is so traditional Indian art. How did you get into that?
Well, when I moved here to Iowa, I mean to Texas, I moved a lot. When I moved here to Texas, I was affiliated with Radha Madhav Dham, which was used to be known as Barsana Dham. And part of the wonderful atmosphere there is I got to participate in doing many of the decorations there. So as you see
Mhm,
the mandalas that are going through, I painted those on the ashram floors
mhm,
outside of the temple where they would throw melas, and which is a fair.
yeah,
And one of the things that they wanted to offer at the fair when they first at the mela when they first opened up was henna, but nobody there knew how to do it. So I took a class. I looked online and found a woman who knew how to do henna here in Austin, and her name was Aditi Patel, and I took some classes and I loved it. And I've been doing henna ever since, kind of word of mouth. I do have a website, but I don't really promote that business. Um, but my kids have learned it from me and they do it also. So it's wonderful.
yeah. I mean, your henna work is gorgeous. It is simply so beautiful, and growing up in India, I know people love henna. And what's amazing is in India, like people only get henna on their hands or their feet, and only the brides get it on their feet when they're getting married, and like full arms. But here, what I've seen is when women are pregnant, they get it on their belly. And the one I saw, another one on your website, was the person on their shaved head.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a very the people of this country have really wanted a different version of it.
mhm,
So occasionally, like I will do what I call them is I do volunteer work and I do the cancer patients' heads. Um, and then as far as the bellies, you know, my everyone, it's been a trend, started that years ago, and it's just amazing how women have taken it to a different level for a belly blessing.
yeah,
I like to tell people when I'm doing henna how it originated and how it originated for me, and I got involved, and people usually learn a lot. Um, what I find is very interesting is most Indian people really like my henna artwork, and
yes,
then they find out I'm white. They're like, how did you learn? And and I laugh because I learned from an Indian woman who was taught by her mother, whose mother taught her, and mother taught her, and they
yeah,
passed it down. And what
yeah,
was really great about how I learned is um, it wasn't just learning the henna, but it was about how to make the paste and really make the whole process.
mhm, mhm,
So um, I have a daughter who makes the paste for me because I have no patience. And then I have another daughter who actually works with me and does henna. But since she is in the mom stage, I let her do all the bellies now. And I just stick to weddings or parties or whatever I get a request for. It kind of supplemented my lifestyle. It's interesting because as the time of year goes, there's some seasons where people want henna. There's a rush to get a website done. Somebody wants art. I love my life because I can always just fit in
yeah.
something new. And sometimes I'm working on several projects at the same time. And it's nice. I started doing all this for my kids. I was a single mom,
Hmm.
uh, raising four kids for a little while, and it's really helped me being able to do so many different things.
I can imagine how big is your studio. You're working in so many different projects at the same time.
Oh, my house is a mess.
But even the mandalas that we were seeing before, they're beautiful, and the temple is gorgeous. And those mandalas I've seen because I go there often as well, and those are just gorgeous. And I didn't know it was you who painted it, so that's good to know, really. Um, and you mentioned about your cut work, and so it's all paper that you work with. What is the process? Because those look like paintings, and like you painted, or but you know, is it was hard for me to believe it that it was you just cut the paper and made it. Those are just very unique.
It's a little crazy. When I started doing this style of artwork, as you can see, these are the ones you're showing here. That's of Demi Moore, and that's in black and white. And when I first started, um, it was because I didn't want to paint. Paint was too messy. I couldn't get my lines as crisp um, as I thought I could. So I started experimenting with paper, just as you would a kid, gluing paper to paper. And then I actually had to learn, how am I going to have this last? Um, so I had to learn about paper and the archival qualities of paper and about different adhesives and how to store and the right temperature
Mhm.
and everything I could about paper. So from 84 to I would say about 89, I watched a lot of pieces fall apart and learned a lot on the process and how to get moved forward. I have one art piece that I created in 1990 that is still perfect black and perfect white. It's been sealed and framed. So everything is hermetically sealed, either between two pieces of glass or
Mhm.
two pieces of plexi, um, unless they Um, but they're all sealed. And people don't like the frames, they can change it out. I just have to leave everything sealed until they're purchased or for the purchase.
it's a it's a whole science behind it, and I feel like that's why people have to learn what and appreciate the artist, because you learn all this over time, and you create, and it's important to know how you make your artwork last for a long time, because that's the hardest thing, to keep it as is for a long time.
Yeah, because back in 84, 85, I was in high school in 84. Okay. So it all started as a high school project. And, the teacher, very, the art teacher there was very old school. And, she was really sure that only people who painted their artwork would last. So I was kind of myself, and I'm always trying to prove people wrong. So it was like, I'm going to do it with paper, and this is going to work for me. And over time, it's evolved. I've had pieces that I've added fabric to, clothing to, gems to, shells. And then I stopped doing work um, when I got divorced from my first husband. Part of my first husband was really abusive. So part of the divorce was to let me have a divorce. He made me sign a piece of paper that anything that I made or sold for 15 years, he would get 50% of. So I did, and I made nothing for 15 years. So really, around 2012, 2013, I was allowed to start making work again. So kind of a short backstory. But anyway, so I didn't do anything for a period of time. I raised kids, did henna, did uh, mandalas, and then I got back to doing paperwork in about 2013, 2012.
You are wow, that's you're so brave to survive all that, and emerge so successful.
Well,
Um,
it was kind of scary because it was, I'm kind of stubborn, and the only way to get out of the bad situation was to sign whatever he wanted, and I did.
mm,
And like I said, I didn't make anything, and all the stuff I made in the past is very black and white. All
mhm.
the stuff that I've made since then has been dimensions of paper, um, more tactile. started doing color after I divorced my second husband. That's when I started doing the turtles. And my whole new life with my new husband and my kids growing has been a little more brighter. So you can see more splashes of color, more splashes of paint
Yeah.
added to the paper.
Yeah.
It's just coming alive a little bit more. I love doing the charcoals, but everything's marketed different type of people. Yeah, so it
Yes.
depends on what you like.
I did notice that all the paper that you use, it seems so different and special paper. Wait, how do you find such good, different, beautiful paper?
Well, at first I started finding my paper at the paper place here in Austin. Um, they had a variety of paper, which I love. And then I had to learn about how to use some of those papers because they're not all archival. Just because it's handmade doesn't mean it's got archival qualities. Um, as you can see here, this picture,
Hmm.
that was one of the first ones I made using paper from Paper Place. So as I was learning more about paper, then I wanted to find cheaper sources. So now I just go straight to one of the best warehouses here, and I order my paper there. A lot of times I don't get the exact color variation, so I'll drop ink
Hmm.
behind it, so it'll bleed properly, or I'll add fresh paints. There's a piece I think you might have just showed that recently. It's all yellow. They didn't make that yellow paper, so that all the yellow and the gold and the different sheen, that was just a specialty that I had to put together to get the effect I wanted. It was actually for
Yeah.
a yellow challenge online, so I thought, wow, I don't do anything in yellow. I'm black, white, red. I thought, okay, we'll do yellow, and I've been having a blast with colors. I
Yeah.
mean, that my whole new lines have all been colors. So
I feel like you're one of those people who don't have to go look for inspiration. Just inspiration is constantly flowing through you. You're like, having one idea after the other, always creating and juggling.
well, it's a little crazy, and thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes I get so many ideas that actually stumps me, but thank you, thank you.
And I've seen some of your work. Which caught my eye was the work that has anatomy in it. It's the humans with half human but half, showing their muscles or bones. Where did where did what are those for? How did you decide to paint those?
Well, actually, that was a school project, and it was inspired by Melanie Hickerson, my professor at ACC here in Austin. And it was part of my first couple classes going back to school. Um, to get through the life drawing classes, the end goal was to draw a full scale body with all the bones. That was the first class. And so I did a little different take on it because I was looking for the right pose, and I found a Manet painting, and this is my Manet Skelly, and I did only half the bones because we didn't have to label them twice. We just needed to show one sample of the bones. So I used that pose to do a half and half, which kind of surprised her in what I was doing. And that piece, the university actually bought for me for a collection, and it won an award. And then I stayed and took another class with Miss Hickerson, and I started doing the muscles because that was the
Mhm.
next part of drawing a life drawing too, was muscles. So I thought I would go with the same thing and do the half and half. And now I'll only do them half and half like that. I think that just adds a little flair. So it's
I
fun.
guess I guess we all need a good teacher to bring the best out of us from us.
Oh yeah, it was really great. I've been drawing people my whole life, and people get stumped on little parts like fingers and toes and hands. But when you learn all the muscles and the bones, you actually learn that there's no straight line. You know, it makes drawing a lot different when you know what's underneath the skin. At least
I
for me.
I never thought like that, but it seems like you can now teach science to kids as well, like along with the art.
Yeah.
So, what are you working on now? Like, is I know everybody has a different experience of what we are going through during this time in 2020. It's a Some people may still have some silver lining into this, but what has your experience been?
Well, experience has been kind of back and forth. I've started a new line, and I'm not really sure if I'm ready to say it yet, but I will. I'm working on my Ladies of Liberty. I'm going for the American hope, dream, how strong we are,
Mhm.
how strong we all are. So that's kind of what's motivating me right now, getting back into some of my charcoals and just trying different things.
Okay, that's good. I'm looking forward to what you create now.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've got an agent in Houston to represent me in that area, and he's launching a project now and trying to get us all into um, what is it? IAHB, their airport and hobby airport.
Mhm.
They get two airports there, so hopefully I'll hear something new and just trying different things.
Yeah. Well, this was great, Marcy. So nice to have you on the show and talk to you and learn all this about you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me here today.
You're welcome. And now it's time to meet our second guest artist who has traveled long journeys before becoming part of Austin art community. So let's welcome Anna to the show. Hi Anna.
Hi,
Welcome to Art Rendezvous.
thank you for having me.
How was your day so far?
Pretty good. How's yours?
Just usual. um, I want to start the show with asking you about your journey to become a full-time professional artist. What it's been like.
Well, I guess I've been painting and drawing as long as I can remember myself. Um, but turning into professional artist, um, just quitting the regular job and all that kind of stuff happened a few years ago, when my husband became a professor, and we moved to Morgantown. There was really nothing for me to do over there. It's a small town, small university town, and I figured that instead of just looking for any kind of job, maybe I can try, to paint, to study, and see what's gonna turn out of it, because that was the perfect time. That was like a couple of years that I could really just dedicate to painting. And it's been good ever since.
So what did you do before that? What were you working on before that?
Well, I had lots of jobs, but I got a degree in architectural study or something like that. It was called. It was a college degree back in Canada. So I was thinking after high school, I was thinking to possibly go into visual arts, but I guess I didn't have enough courage. So I chose something safer and close to art, which is architecture. So yeah, when you are an artist, like, to paint is to express yourself. It's an ability to get a point across, desire to say something. And I guess being 17, 18, I didn't have really much to say. I like the process, I like painting, but I didn't have a goal in mind. And I guess because of that, I chose architecture, and I enjoyed that journey very much. It was easy for me. So right out of, I did not finish college. I quit a month before I got my degree. So I figured, what are they going to teach me in the last months? Like all the secrets to architecture. So anyway, I didn't really like it there very much. But anyway, that was enough for me to get a job at the architectural firms, construction firms. And I was working as a truss designer. I was designing roof trusses, floor joists, girders, beams, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that gave me ability to travel. So at first I got a job in London, Ontario. That's where I moved from Ukraine. And then my second job was in California, in San Diego. So that was magical. After that, I moved to Vancouver, BC. It was a big change when it comes to, lifestyle and weather and all that kind of stuff. And then in Vancouver, when I was about 26, 27, that's when I kind of figured that I'm done with that. I don't want to move further. It was the time that I had enough experience when you could grow in a different direction, maybe become a project manager and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't want to do that. So I decided to go back to school. And I moved to Toronto, and I got enrolled into U of T, University of Toronto, where I studied art history, actually. Not art. Once again, I took a detour. The reason I chose art history is because prior to that, I spent several months in Italy. And this is when I had an epiphany. I realized, looking at architecture in Italy, seeing all that beautiful stuff, I figured what I'm doing here, it's nothing to compare to, big, beautiful stuff. So I decided to learn art history, and maybe possibly after that, move to Italy and become a tour guide on a bus and tell people, all about the beautiful stuff that they're looking at. So that's what I did. Meanwhile, I enrolled into Realist Academy, or Academy of Realist Art, in Toronto. So it was a great school. This is the actual school where you want to go to learn how to paint. It's not university. It's the school where you have very professional artists teaching you how to paint. So I was doing that for 2 years. At the same time, I was full-time at the university. And once again, I had to make a decision which one it is that I want to pick. So I decided to pick architecture. Not architecture, art history.
Art history.
So I got a degree in art history. My husband got his PhD in economics. He got a job in Morgantown. It was his first job. And yeah, we moved to Morgantown, and there you go. I decided, well, now it's time to paint.
Wow, that was a lot of twists and turns before you decided to be a full-time art.
Yes, I was undecisive. But again, I think the whole thing comes down to the fact that I didn't have much to say. And I think what helped me a lot is studying art history. Because in order to understand art history, I was focusing on Renaissance because this is what wowed me being in Florida. So once you learn about Renaissance, you have to go back and understand what it is that they painting over there, right? So you go back and you start studying religion. So I did a lot of history of religion and all that kind of stuff. Once you start studying religion, you go back and you study ancient Greeks and ancient Romans and all that kind of stuff. And with that comes philosophy and so on. So I think being in school helped me to become an artist philosophically in my head, wanting to actually say something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it kind of helped me that way.
So it helped you find your voice, and now you know how and what you want to paint.
You say it much better than me. Yes, exactly. Help to find my voice.
And so how did you end up in Austin? Like, you went all these beautiful places, Toronto, Italy, and and then how did you end up in Austin?
So prior moves, they were because of my job. The last two moves, Morgantown and Austin, it's because of my husband.
Okay.
So he worked in Morgantown for about a year and a half, I don't know, but it's like every day counts because both of us did not really like Morgantown. It was a tiny little place with not much culture or something to do. Beautiful nature, but very boring. Especially in the summertime when all the students leave. I think the population of Morgantown is about 8,000 to 9,000 people. So very small, very quiet. So it wasn't for our taste. And he went on a job market and he wanted to find something big and fun as a place to live. So he got an offer at a college station. What is it school called? I forgot.
A&M?
There you go. Thank you. So he got a job at A&M, and again, College Station, it's way bigger than Morgantown, but still not big enough for us.
Right.
So we decided that we want to live in Austin because it's beautiful, it's vibrant, it's fun. It's exactly what we were looking for. And yeah, so he just commutes.
Okay, yeah, Austin, of course, is beautiful, and it has a huge artist community here in Austin, right? So I've noticed in your artwork, and there are a lot of pictures where you have kids painted or the doodles. Do you how do you work with that? Like, do you have little kids who kind of work with you? Your kids make their way in the studio and work with you, or you get inspired to work with them. How does that work out?
Well, I do. I have two babies. One of them is 9.5, and second one is almost 2. So the 9.5, he used to help me a lot. There you go. That's my baby. There was this one time when I had to create a series of works, and that's my other one. He's destroying more than helping. So the 9-year-old, I was painting a picture of a boy, or boy and a girl, actually. There you go. They were painting on a wall. It was kind of inspired by Tom Sawyer. I don't know if you remember that story, where Tom Sawyer, he convinced everybody to paint the fence when he didn't want to do it. So anyway, so I painted those kids painting a fence. But then I couldn't really do the doodles like kids do.
Yeah.
So I tried for several days and it just wasn't happening. And I realized I have a kid, so I'll ask him for help. And that's what I did. And he colored the entire canvas and I just let him go and express himself. And then the pictures where I felt like they're out of place a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of painted over them. But anyway, the first painting was sold. That was in Austin. I think he was in grade one when he helped me. So the first painting was sold like within a month after I took it to the gallery, also here in Austin, Austin Art Garage. And he was really proud. He told the entire school that he sold the painting, and there you go. And the second painting was just recently sold, like about a year ago.
They're so adorable, and the little one also. I think in a couple of years he'll be helping you too.
He's a little troublemaker. He's more of an inspiration than help.
Well, they are adorable, and I'm sure they will become pretty creative. You know, learning all the art around you. Growing up, they'll be creative.
Well,
um, um, I was asking. I've also seen this work that you did on the roadside of our Austin. It's like an installation. What is that about? Like, where did that come from?
okay, so there's a organization. It's called Art Up Studios, I believe,
Mhm.
and the project is mini murals. So this company, what they do is they get sponsored by the government. They offer their services to different cities, and if the city likes it, they basically finance the project.
Mhm.
So what they're doing in Austin is they painting electric boxes that like right next to, how to call that stuff, um, the the traffic light.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've seen those boxes all over the place.
Mhm.
They just basically they're pretty gray. But mini murals, what they want to do is paint every single box in Austin and paint every single box in Houston and so on. So I applied with my proposal and I got chosen. And with this particular project, I just wanted to incorporate the box into my design rather than just painting over it.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, what could be better than staying with the music scene and painting, like a tape. People in Austin, they like music, they like vintage, they like that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And that's the design that I proposed, and they chose me. And that was an experience. Working outside on a street, it's a lot of fun. You meet interesting people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun. I was painting there one day, and the guy drove by, and he rolled down the window and he offered me $1. And at that time, I thought to myself that I really need to reconsider my outfit. So an hour later, another guy drives by and rolls down the window and screams, "Hey!" and offers me another $1. And my thought was, I should have taken the first one and then I would have enough for coffee, after work. But anyway, all the great thoughts come kind of later. But anyway, yeah. And then I had another lady, she was there all the time. She would go, there was an entrance to a green belt.
Mhm.
So she had to pass me to get to a green belt, and she was going there every single day. So she saw me, and we became friends. And at the end, on my last day, she brought me tacos and beans, and it was
Oh,
a pleasant surprise.
that's so sweet.
Yeah,
And it can only happen in Austin, People just
I
make
know.
friends like that, and they bring you food and super nice. It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, everybody was super nice. I had people stopping and talking to me and giving me song suggestions, like what should I put on the insert, like on a list with
Mhm.
songs. It was really helpful. No, people are nice. They kind of made it fun because I was lonely over there next to that electric box.
Yeah, I I think that was a great idea. And to first of all, to use those electric boxes and then turn them into an art piece, and then having this idea of using the mixtape. That's just goes with the Austin scene so well. So
Thank you.
that's beautiful. Um, and you do commissions? Do you work on commissions and also? And what kind of requests do you take for commissions?
I do commissions. I just recently finished one for a construction company in Houston.
Hmm.
Uh, they were celebrating 20 years. That's the one.
Hmm.
And I had to incorporate the projects that had a specific meaning to them
Hmm.
with their logo into one painting.
Hmm.
And I really enjoyed that journey. It took a while to negotiate which buildings we're going to include, which ones we're going to exclude, and so on, because they built a lot of stuff in the last 20 years. So a lot of it was talking and sketching and coming up with different designs. But once we settled on something, I got it done, and I absolutely love it, and they seem to like it too.
And I
So I do corporate commissions, and I do some private commissions too.
and I can see you used your architectural background in that painting. Like it blends so well with the art. Um, but I can see you probably used your background in this, right?
Yeah, I had to remember. It took a while. The architectural drawing, yes. And actually, I don't do architectural cityscapes anymore. But back in the day when I was painting, just for fun, lots of my paintings, it was mostly a cityscape theme throughout all of them for like 10 years. And then I guess I just kind of quit and went into something else.
That looked beautiful, and the vintage touch in it is also yeah, it also very nice. And I've seen a lot of your work has that vintage touch. And then you have a series on vintage objects, which was very interesting to me. Where did that idea come from, or inspiration came to you about making those vintage objects?
So I came across. I like vintage objects. It's something that I like to look at, to have. And I came across this one camera. I
Mhm.
don't know how old it is. Have no idea, but I don't even know what it's called. But I kind of like the way it looked, and I was sketching it, and I left it as a sketch. And one of my friends that live in Canada, she helps me a lot. It's the kind of person that you have to, just talk about your art. She has a good understanding of it.
Mhm.
She saw it and she asked me, what is it that I'm planning to do with the sketch? And I said that I'm just going to leave it as that. It's just for me, just for fun and so on, because I didn't want to go on a traditional still life, when you just have an object, put it on a desk, dark background, and so on, right? And she told me that I don't have to do it. I can just place it as it is on a fun background and have the school contrast and leave it at that.
Mhm.
And I have more of a traditional training when it comes to art, and I guess more of a traditional thought.
Yeah.
So the idea was just crazy, and I was like, just leave it without a table, just up in the air on a blue and pink background, and just like that. And she's like, yes, just do that, it's going to be awesome. And that's exactly what I did, and I really liked the idea. I really liked the way the first one turned out. So I ended up painting a few more objects, and this is how the theory came out. And she was so right. She said it's very popular right now. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, so the first three I painted, I sold right away on Instagram. Actually, they didn't even go to the gallery. It's just,
Yeah.
I was, wow, she has a good sense of what's good. um, yeah.
I can see it probably makes a lot of people feel nostalgic with those objects, because those some of those are not too old. Um, the dial phone. You can still see in the movies and stuff, old movies. And now it's considered a vintage, you know. So that's
It is,
interesting.
yeah, right. And this is how I look at it. The dial phone, it's something that I used when I was little.
Yeah.
The projector, the movie projector, it's way
Uh-huh.
older, so is that camera. But
Yeah.
to me, I don't see that difference. To me, it's all kind of falls down into category of vintage objects, and I really like the feel of it. I don't know, makes me happy.
Um, so what are you currently working on now? What is the do you have a new series or new style that you're working on now?
No. Well, I did this painting behind me, but that was just for fun. It turned out actually okay. It was more of a study. But what I was doing since quarantine, I decided to go back to old masters
Mhm.
and learn from them. Basically, just copy their drawings and get it right, get as close as possible, just to train your hand, to train your eye, and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. Because to me, it's important. I haven't done these kind of studies for years now, so I figured it's nice to take a break from the commercial painting and
Mhm.
just to train yourself to grow in a way. And once you do it, you don't really think, like your imagination is not really working. It's more of a meditation. You're just trying to get it right. So,
Mhm.
and while you're doing that, since your mind is very clear, lots of great ideas come to you.
Yeah.
And this is when I kind of stop and go make a painting and then go back to sketching. So I think I'll be doing that for a while, for a few more months until I get bored, and then I'll get back to commercial art.
I really like that painting that's behind you because lines are my favorite, and I'm a Leo and I love line paintings. So I love that one in the background. I love the how it's the colors are coming out. You know, you have it gray, but everything else is colorful around the line.
Thank you. I called it Searching for a Rainbow.
Oh.
So, yeah, so the idea was to actually paint Charlie Chaplin, and that's his quote. It goes something like, if you never look up, hold on, you'll never find the rainbow if you're looking down. So that's the quote. And the
Oh.
idea was to paint Charlie Chaplin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that didn't quite work out. So because of the background, first I paint the background, and then on top of it all, I put a figure. So in this case, the background turned out to be very vibrant, very busy, and I figured like putting Charlie Chaplin is not really going to work out. And then I thought of a line looking up, just kind of try to
Yeah.
think differently, like outside of the box, because there are also lots of paintings with Charlie Chaplin and the quote right next to it. So it's not like I'm gonna surprise anybody with that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I decided to switch the subject and decided to put a line instead of Charlie Chaplin's figure, but still have the quote. So I have a quote on one side and then a line on the other side. And I painted him in black and white simply because he was sad and depressed and he was looking for a
Right.
rainbow. And then he looked up and he found it. And you can see that his feet are turning blue and yellow.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
now, yeah. So anyway, that's what I was thinking about.
See, this is why I love talking to artists about their artwork because you can see and make your interpretation about an artwork, but when you talk to artists and learn their perspective, you have a completely new way of looking at the art piece. So this is my favorite part of like talking about art and understanding what was your inspiration and where did that come from. So that gives a whole new meaning to art piece.
Thank you. Well, as we learned here, that my inspiration come from messing it up and then trying to fix it.
Well, it looks great.
Thank you.
And it was really nice talking to you. Thank you for being on the show. It was great learning about your journey. Thanks
Thank you
again.
for having me.
You're welcome. So that was our show for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel, Art Rendezvous, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with more art inspiring stories. Until then, stay safe. Bye.